This is a reflective presentation about my time with the scriptwriting module. In this presentation, I will discuss 3 things that I have learned, what I have particularly enjoyed about the elective, and what I hope to develop further in my independent screenwriting studies. An insight that particularly stuck with me in the module was a character's wants versus their needs, and how that then forms a 3-dimensional personality and archetypal character growth within the narrative. An example of these wants and needs that were used in class was an analysis of Woody's arc in Toy Story. Woody's core want is to be Andy's favourite toy, and to uphold and maintain his number 1 position in the toy hierarchy. And we see this through his selfish tendencies, never sacrificing an opportunity to put himself first, especially as Buzz, a new threat to that very want, enters the picture. Woody's need, however, is that internal necessity of accepting change, building friendship, and to embrace the true purpose of being a toy. This shift in ideology is shown when Buzz is put in danger as a direct consequence of Woody's selfish actions. It is through this action and recovery that Woody learns that Andy's love is not a finite resource, and it can be shared equally amongst his toy peers. Furthermore, this idea can be understood through the Native American 2 wolves belief, which frames character as the presence of 2 coexistent impulses within a person. In screenwriting terms, these impulses map closely onto a character's want and need, forming the basis of a believable complexity and emotional authenticity with a narrative arc shaped by which side is ultimately fed. Another thing that I learned was that the narrative can also showcase character growth through its midpoint, or keystone climax. This is where a character is abruptly confronted with the consequences of their actions, as previously mentioned before with Woody, and subsequently their emotional metamorphosis begins. A villain or antagonist is often a hero with a false pretense or misinformed idea of what the correct solution is to the main conflict. And this not only shapes the foundation of a compelling story, but it also sets up character dynamics, relationships, and their duality, especially between the protagonist and antagonist. This mirror trope acts as a reflection of 2 differing pathways from oppositional mindsets, and the conflict between them is what drives the story. A theoretic example of this would be Sid Field's screenplay structure. He argues, the arrangement of setup, confrontation, and resolution is what gives a script its coherence, functioning almost like a dramatic skeleton that supports all character arcs and narrative action. He also writes, beginning, middle, and end. These parts make up the whole, but it is the relationship between these parts that determines the whole. Lastly, I learned how important pitching is within the screen industry, and how much a writer must adapt their ideas in order for them to be greenlit for production. We explored how different platforms require different pitching materials, particularly how Netflix prioritises short, skimmable treatments that usually focus on the first 2 acts, alongside questions for serialization, profit, and long-term audience engagement. In contrast, more traditional broadcasters often expect a full narrative breakdown, structured into clear and digestible sections. Through practical class exercises, I developed a better understanding of how to sell my ideas by using genre-specific buzzwords and writing both traditional and trust me loglines, which helped me think more strategically about how to communicate tone, concept, and audience appeal. Looking ahead, I want to keep building my confidence in adapting different forms of storytelling into screenplays. The comic adaptation exercise in class really helped me to understand the importance of authenticity and being aware of genre and audience. I'm currently writing a hybrid horror comedy script, which is a new territory for me, and I'm excited to push myself into unfamiliar genres. I'm also aware that concision, particularly when pitching, is something I need to improve. To support this, I'm engaging with industry tech such as creating TV formats from inception to pitch by Catriona Miller, Hazel Marshall and Linda Green, and Small Screen Big Picture by Chad Gurvich, to better understand how ideas are shaped and sold within the industry. Lastly, I found the exercises really engaging for story building and learning basic narrative structure, but as someone who has only written a few scripts, I sometimes wanted a deeper breakdown beyond the fundamentals. I often second-guess my structuring, as it can feel subjective and varies between directors and writing rooms. I've also been taught to avoid things like adverbs, camera directions, and overly detailed descriptions, though these rules can feel less clear when the writer is also the director. Moving forward, I want to be able to explore more advanced structures and techniques, such as montage, transitions, and the use of sound, so my creativity feels more fluid on the page, rather than limited by formatting concerns. Thank you for listening.